You know that saying, life is what happens when you're busy making other plans? Well, life decided to drop a plot twist on me that would make a soap opera jealous. My name is Laura, and until recently, I thought I was living the dream. Married to Michael for 8 blissful years, we had the kind of relationship that made our friends roll their eyes and call us sickeningly cute. We shared a love for jazz music, Sunday morning crossword puzzles, and spontaneous road trips to nowhere in particular. But one Tuesday afternoon, while tidying up the house, I stumbled upon an unfamiliar scarf draped over the back of Michael's office chair. It was silk, elegant, and definitely not mine. At first I thought maybe he bought it as a surprise gift. I smiled at the thought, but then noticed a faint scent of perfume clinging to it, a floral fragrance I didn't recognize. Curiosity piqued, I decided to do a little digging. I checked our online bank statements and noticed several charges at a fancy restaurant downtown, the kind of place we reserved for special occasions. Except, we hadn't been there in over a year. A knot formed in my stomach, but I told myself not to jump to conclusions. Maybe he was planning something special, but the nagging feeling wouldn't let go. That evening, Michael mentioned he'd be working late the next day due to a big project deadline. I nodded, masking my unease with a practiced smile. The next morning, after he left for work, I called my friend Lisa, who worked in IT. Lisa, hypothetically speaking, how hard is it to track someone's location through their phone? I inquired, trying to sound casual. She laughed. Hypothetically, it's easy if you have access to their device. What's up? I hesitated, but decided to come clean. I think Michael might be seeing someone else. I found a scarf that isn't mine and some suspicious charges. Her tone shifted to serious. I'm sorry to hear that. Do you want me to help you find out? Yes, but discreetly. I don't want to jump to conclusions without proof. Understood. Swing by my office later. We'll set something up. That afternoon, I met Lisa, and we installed a tracking app on Michael's phone. It felt invasive, but I needed answers. That evening, Michael was his usual charming self, completely unaware of my suspicions. We ate dinner, discussed our days, and he even suggested we watch our favorite show together. Part of me almost wanted to believe everything was fine. The next day, when he texted that he'd be working late, I checked the app. His location showed he was at the upscale restaurant from the bank statements. I felt a mix of anger and hurt, but remained determined. I needed more than just a dot on a map. I decided to pay a visit to the restaurant. Dressing inconspicuously, I took a table tucked in a corner. Sure enough, Michael walked in, not alone but with his assistant, Amelia, a striking woman with whom he'd worked for the past year. They sat close, laughing and sharing bites of dessert. The sight was like a punch to the gut. As I drove home, a myriad of emotions swirled within me. Confrontation seemed too simple, too unsatisfying. No, I needed a plan. A clever, unconventional plan that would make him realize the gravity of his actions. The next day, I began phase 1. I recalled that Michael's company had been courting a major client, a tech mogul named Victor Chen, whose investment could skyrocket Michael's career. Pretending to be Victor's assistant, I crafted an email to Michael's work account, expressing interest in a private meeting to discuss potential collaboration. I used a throwaway email address and ensured it was untraceable. Michael was ecstatic at the prospect, mentioning over dinner that Victor's team had reached out. I feigned surprise and congratulated him, hiding my satisfaction behind a sip of wine. Phase 2 involved enlisting the help of my cousin, Alex, an actor with a knack for improvisation. I briefed him on the situation and the role he needed to play, Victor Chen's right-hand man. We arranged the meeting at an exclusive hotel lounge, one that exuded wealth and discretion. On the day of the meeting, Michael dressed sharply, his favorite silk tie meticulously knotted. He kissed me goodbye, a gesture that now felt hollow. I wished him luck, and as soon as he left, I headed to the hotel, ready to set the trap. Disguised with a blonde wig and a pair of oversized sunglasses, I took a seat in the lounge, close enough to observe but not be noticed. Alex, playing his part flawlessly, greeted Michael and led him to a secluded area. They ordered drinks, and the conversation began. "Victor is very interested in your firm's approach," Alex began. "But he values integrity above all else. He's had issues in the past with partners who weren't forthright." Michael nodded eagerly. "Absolutely. Integrity is the cornerstone of our business." "That's good to hear," Alex replied. "Now, before we proceed, Victor requires a standard vetting process. Confidentiality agreements, background checks, the usual." "Of course, anything you need," Michael assured. Alex leaned in slightly. "Excellent. Also, he prefers to know who he's dealing with on a personal level. Any skeletons in the closet we should be aware of?" Michael chuckled nervously. "None whatsoever. I'm an open book." "Glad to hear it," Alex said, sliding a document across the table. "If you could fill this out, we'll be in touch." Michael scanned the paper, which was a generic form I'd found online and modified. As he filled it out, Alex excused himself, leaving the area. That's when I made my move. I approached Michael's table, careful to keep my voice low. "Funny meeting you here," I said, removing my sunglasses. He looked up, eyes widening in shock. "Laura! What are you doing here?" "I could ask you the same," I replied coolly. "Business meeting, right?" He stammered, "Yes, with Victor Chen's associate. What about you?" "Oh, I'm just meeting a friend," I said, gesturing vaguely. Before he could probe further, Alex returned. "Ah, Michael, I see you've met Victor's wife," he said, nodding toward me. Michael's face went pale. "A wife?" I smiled sweetly. "Surprise?" Alex continued. "Victor likes to have his family involved in big decisions, keeps everyone honest." Michael swallowed hard. "I didn't realize—" "Well, now you do," I said. "Integrity is so important, after all." He glanced between us, clearly unsettled. "Absolutely. I should probably get going." "Don't rush off," I insisted. "There's something we should discuss." Alex took the cue. "I'll give you two a moment," he said, walking away. Michael leaned in, whispering urgently, "What are you doing?" "Me. Just helping you with your business deal," I replied. "Or should I say, making sure you don't embarrass yourself further." He shifted uncomfortably. "I don't understand." I pulled out my phone and showed him photos of him and Amelia at the restaurant. His eyes widened. "Laura, I can explain." "Save it," I said sharply. "I know everything, the late nights, the lunches, the hotel visits." He opened his mouth, but no words came out. "Did you really think I wouldn't find out?" I continued. "And now, not only have you been unfaithful, but you've jeopardized a major business opportunity by lying to Victor Chen's wife." He ran a hand through his hair, panic setting in. "Please, let's talk about this privately." "Oh, we'll have plenty of time to talk," I said, standing up. "But first, you might want to check your email." I walked away, leaving him in a state of bewilderment. Earlier that day, I had sent an email to his company's board of directors from an anonymous account, detailing his misconduct with a subordinate and attaching the incriminating photos. I knew their strict policies on workplace relationships, especially those involving power imbalances. Over the next few days, the fallout was swift. Michael was called into a meeting with HR and the board. Facing potential lawsuits and damage to the company's reputation, they decided to terminate his employment. Amelia was reassigned and given a stern warning. At home, Michael tried to salvage what was left of our marriage. He apologized profusely, blaming stress and temptation. I listened quietly, letting him spill his rehearsed lines. When he finished, I handed him divorce papers. "You're serious?" he asked, tears welling in his eyes. "Very," I replied. "I deserve better, and you know it." He looked defeated. "I made a terrible mistake." Yes, you did, and now you have to face the consequences. I moved out the following week, securing a new apartment downtown. With the divorce proceedings underway, I focused on rebuilding my life. I decided to pursue a passion I'd long neglected, opening my own boutique bookstore and cafe. It was a dream Michael had once dismissed as impractical, but now I had the freedom to make it a reality. The grand opening was a success. Friends, family, and curious locals filled the cozy space, sipping lattes and browsing the curated selection of books. Even Lisa was there, raising a toast to new beginnings. "To Laura 2-0, she cheered, clinking her glass against mine. "Couldn't have done it without you," I smiled. As the evening wound down, a familiar face walked through the door. Alex, my cousin and co-conspirator. "Thought I'd stop by and see the place," he said, admiring the decor. "Glad you did," I replied. "Business is booming." He nodded approvingly. "Word on the street is Michael's been struggling to find a new job." I shrugged. Not my concern anymore. "You're handling this remarkably well," he remarked. "Revenge is best served with a side of personal growth," I quipped. Months passed, and life settled into a comfortable rhythm. One day, I received a letter from Michael. Curiosity got the better of me, and I opened it. "Laura, I wanted to reach out and apologize once more. Losing you made me realize how much I took for granted. I hope someday you can forgive me." "Michael!" I folded the letter thoughtfully. Forgiveness was a tricky thing. While I didn't harbor ill will, I wasn't interested in rekindling anything. I had moved on, and it was time he did too. One afternoon, as I managed the cafe, a customer approached the counter. He was tall, with kind eyes and a warm smile. "Excuse me," he said. "I couldn't help but notice the first edition Hemingway on your shelf. Quite a rare find." "Indeed it is," I replied. "Are you a fan?" "Avid," he admitted. "Name's Daniel." "Laura," I said, shaking his hand. We struck up a conversation about literature, travel, and our favorite hidden gems in the city. There was an ease to our interaction, a refreshing change from the complexities of the past year. As he left, he glanced back. "I'll definitely be coming back here. Save me a seat." "Always," I smiled. That evening, I reflected on how far I'd come. What started as a journey fueled by betrayal had led me to a place of contentment and possibility. I had taken control of my narrative, transforming a painful chapter into a story of resilience. Life, with all its unexpected twists, had taught me an invaluable lesson. Sometimes, the best revenge is simply moving forward and flourishing on your own terms. After all, happiness is the sweetest form of vindication.